With the recent announcement of Shadowlands, the new retail WoW expansion, I've started to ask myself, am I excited for this new expansion? I'm someone who's played pretty much every expansion of WoW from the beginning. I play a mage on retail WoW, and one of my most favorite things to do is put on heavy metal, pop time warp, and go through your arcane opener rotation or frost or whatever it is and just pump crazy damage. Really enjoy retail in that regard. But one thing that I've noticed is that there are massive differences between retail and classic WoW that makes me even wonder, as someone who's enjoyed classic WoW so much for the past year, will I even be excited to start retail again? So for today's video, I wanted to pose the question, should the classic WoW player base be excited for Shadowlands? I wanted to look at the pros and the cons associated with giving Shadowlands a try and figure out for myself, but also perhaps for the community, what is my excitement level at? So first, let's go over some reasons as to why I'm personally excited to try Shadowlands out. WoW to me has been almost sort of like a life hobby, a passage, a coming of age / video game journey that I've been on since the first expansion release. A new expansion represents a chance to come in at the ground floor and be is the same as everyone else and have a fresh start. And I always find that really exciting. I really do enjoy being, even if I might not like all of the different new systems that retail has added, at the end of the day, I like pumping damage, whether it's my warrior in classic or my mage on retail. Being able to do that, really, no matter what the story is, no matter what a lot of the systems are, is fun to me. I just enjoy the gameplay of WoW, especially enjoy the raids and the dungeons associated with retail. You know, another reason is Blizzard bringing out a new expansion is always the proverbial, dad coming home from the cigarette store with that pack of cigarettes that he wanted to buy, and he actually came home. He didn't just abandon you forever. A new expansion is there's always a chance for Blizzard to redeem themselves and make a really good expansion. A lot of people did not like WoD. A lot of people liked Legion. A new expansion is always an opportunity to not only get in at the ground floor with all of the rest of the player base, but also to see if Blizzard's kind of gone back to form on some things and fixed some problems and that the community had. I'm also excited to try retail because I don't think that retail and classic need to be mutually exclusive of each other. You don't have to only play classic, or you don't need to only play retail. You can enjoy a blended approach of both, especially as that now in many of our life cycles of classics playtime, we're pretty advanced. I've got a warrior, mage, and druid at level 60. I've got my warriors very geared, and at this point I've run Strathome so many times I just don't want to do it again. I'll be real with you guys. I'm good on Strathome. I'm certainly good on Scholomance. Having a new chance, even though the game is very different from classic to retail, just having fresh content, fresh raids, without getting in so late that you're dramatically behind in power level, I'm always excited for that. I think Torghast and the raids look really cool. I like the whole underworld type of environment they have going on. I think it's a fresh change of pace. We'll see how much I actually like it compared to some of the other worlds from the expansions, but I think it's promising. Another reason, and I think some people find this controversial, I am personally a big fan of Dungeon Finder. I like being able to jump on with your friends, select a role, and just boom, you're in the dungeon. I understand why Classic has a lot of nuance and personality when you need to spam looking for a member for Ubers, get 10 people together, make sure someone has a key, everybody gets there, maybe you PvP on the way. That's an experience, and I really like that experience. However, it comes to a point to where you might only have an hour, you might only have 2 hours, and you don't have time to do one of those instances, and you certainly don't have time to start a group and do all of the logistics that make that instance go from first pull to killing Drac, the last boss for Ubers. So being able to jump into a Dungeon Finder, even though it destroys a lot of, you go into a Dungeon Finder in retail today, no one's talking to each other. They're running like bots on a rail through the dungeon and just kind of clearing it really quickly. But I'm personally someone who likes to go in, put some dubstep on, put some heavy metal on, and just crank damage. And being able to just do that kind of mindlessly, like run around the city, repair, check auctions, and then just be teleported into an instance to where I start, and then I'm teleported right back to where I was. I'm a big fan of that. Another reason to be excited for retail is loot rules. And this is very subjective as well, but with personal loot in retail, there's not as much drama as there is in classic in terms of, looking for one piece of loot. Now, on the other hand, this makes gearing and loot feel way less impactful and powerful than it does in classic, but let's be real, everyone I'm sure has either been a part of or seen loot drama unfold in classic, and With some of the items drop rates being so low, a personal loot system in some people's eyes is better than the classic system. And I don't know how I feel. I like the way that Classic's loot system makes certain items feel really important and get super excited when they drop. But I also just kind of like getting items in retail as well, even though it feels a lot less good. I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited for Shadowlands, but on the other hand, the first reason really is that retail WoW is just a far cry away from Classic in terms of community. If you boot into retail right now, and I'm Horde, you go into Ogremire, there's a ton of people standing around on mounts or flying in the middle of the air. No one's talking to each other. The only thing being spammed in trade or any of that is boosting services. That's it. There's not a lot of banter going on, not a lot of world chat or things of that nature, and there's certainly no /s going on really anywhere. Dungeons, same thing. You get into a dungeon finder, no one's really talking to each other. There's some people that certainly do, don't get me wrong, but the wide majority of dungeons you're going to run, no one's really going to talk to each other a lot. Now, if you're doing this with a group of your own friends, then that's not an issue, but if you're solo queuing, don't expect to be making lifetime buddies or having really a lot of memorable moments that aren't in an instance piece of content like you do in Classic. So I think that for some people, they enjoy Classic so much, not for all of its crazy and intuitive and advanced systems, they just enjoy the sense of community. Raid for them isn't like a super competitive scenario or battleground. It's really just a place to have fun with 39 other people, have a beer, relax, and kill bosses, and they don't necessarily need all of the hyper advanced systems that retail has. They just enjoy the community. I think those people that really focus on that social interaction element of an MMO are not going to they may still enjoy retail, don't get me wrong, but they're going to find that missing. I know that I certainly see that missing. And sort of on that point, there's just less time spent in the open world in retail. Yeah, you level and you go through the new expansions environment and you see new cities, and that's all great. But once you do that once, unless you level multiple characters, there's really not a lot of emphasis to go back into the open world except to complete world quests and do kind of stuff like that. But let's be real, coming from Classic, you're used to not every 60 feet of the open world being instance. You're used to seeing the same people, getting ganked by the same rogue, running out to burning steps with the same people. In retail, given how all the realms are sort of mashed together, you don't really make those types of connections with other players, and it's that the world feels a lot less organic and more so just like your own experience with like random people that come in and out of it. There's also the pacing. So the pacing of retail is much faster than compared to Classic. There's a lot more abilities for each classes. There's a lot more mechanics in the bosses and the raids, and players themselves just move a lot quicker than they do in Classic. I mean, in Classic, you'll see a group doing a dungeon to where everyone sits down and drinks after every single pull. They shoot the shit for 20 seconds, and then they pull the next mob, they mark the targets. That does not happen in retail. In retail, everyone just zergs everything very quickly, unless you're doing high keys in Mythic Plus to where you've already discussed the strategy beforehand, and you're on a time limit anyway, so you're going fast regardless. So it's just everything's a lot faster in retail. Some people, some of the zoomers out there might really like that. Some of us boomers out there might be, that might not be the best thing for them. There's also some new systems in Shadowlands that I think a lot of people are a bit scared about, like the Covenants and all of those different added abilities that people are worried that these things might make using one character for multiple things hard and might make artificial content gates around being optimal in multiple different types of scenarios that may, you may need to level 3 mages if you want to be great at raiding Mythic Plus and PvP. And that is a turn off for a lot of people. We'll see how much of that is actually true when it goes live, but I think it's something that, you want to be careful of. So that's really it, guys. I think at the end of the day, when it comes time for a new expansion, even if a ton of people think it's going to be garbage or they've been let down by previous expansions, there's just something magical about WoW adding a new chapter to an official chapter to its legacy that you get excited regardless, and that even if it's an absolutely horrible expansion, there's still going to be like months of hype when it releases. No matter how much hate it gets on the internet, no matter how much people cry and talk about Activision Blizzard being, the death of gaming, people will still play it, people will still get excited, there'll still be lots of activity. So if you want to be a part of that, I think it's easily worth $40 to jump in and experience that. I think WoW expansion launches are special moments, especially when you get together with people and you just forego having a life, having a girlfriend, having anything, and just focus on leveling a virtual character. And I think that's really cool. So I'm personally pumped for Shadowlands to come out. Will I become a Mythic Raider? Probably not. I'm in a pretty busy part of my life, starting a new job, and I have commitments to raid in Classic each week. But will I enjoy leveling a character, getting good at the meta spec for Mage, and doing heroics, maybe progressing into Mythic? Yes, I will. And I'm definitely excited for it, unless the expansion's total dog shit, and at that point I'll just go back to playing Classic full time and looking forward for TVC to come out. If you guys aren't excited for Shadowlands, or you are excited, let me know in the comments section below. Let's discuss how you guys are feeling. I think that the Classic, a lot of people got reinvigorated by Classic WoW, brought back into the $15 a month Blizzard Club, and now they have the opportunity to get into the ground floor of a new expansion when the max level is actually going to be 60. So that's a bit interesting. But yeah, you know, new time to get in. So with that said, guys, I will be back making videos here soon, still getting the new house set up, but looking forward to gaining contact very shortly. So all of you out there, keep raiding, keep questing, keep getting sweet loot, and I will see you all on the next one. Peace.